All right, good morning, Ms. Perez. I appreciate you having me in your classroom to go over, to watch you present your lesson. I have a few questions. So, number one, talk to me a little bit about your classroom procedures before you actually begin the class.
So before I begin my class, I make sure that the class is prepared before the kids walk in by having the objective written on the board so that the kids know what they'll be working on. They'll have an idea what the lesson will be. I make sure they grab their all their belongings, all the materials that they need, and that they go to either their assigned seating or by the carpet, where I usually have them go for some lessons throughout the day.
Wonderful. And then I noticed that you had some decorations, real nice.
Thank
I
you.
do appreciate that. Number two, explain some of the material actually that you have on the walls. What decorations do you have on the walls?
Decorations, I have a word wall for the students. I have some other, I guess you would say other posters that pertain to science and reading.
Okay, and I noticed that you have bookshelves real nice and neat for the kids, so that's great. My next question, number three. So for the lesson, talk to me a little bit more in detail to why that the lesson is significant, why you picked about the eardrum or the anatomy of the ear.
Why I chose that lesson, I think it's, well, when it was science, it's important for the kids to really get an in-depth understanding and visual of how the eardrum works, and I feel that the lesson that I chose is a good intro to sound waves and the anatomy of the eardrum.
Great, yeah, definitely.
Along with the lesson that I did with them with the cups, it was a good visual for them to really grasp that understanding.
Yeah. So, another question, number four. So we're going to talk about the actual lesson that you give, or the in-action lesson. I noticed that you have assigned seating for the kids, which is great, and then you have the as you were presenting, you had all the kids on the carpet. So, what is your reasoning, what's your reasoning with having the kids sit down on their desk, come to the carpet, and then after you're presenting, go back to their desk? Talk to me about your strategy with that.
So when I'm doing a lesson, I want the kids in close proximity to me, so that they're all grouped together and they're near me. That way, all eyes are on me, and it's just a closer proximity. If you notice, I do have like a few little ones that sit closer to me in the front. I always have two rows when we're on the carpet. The ones that are a little, I guess, tend to get more distracted easily, I have them sitting closer to me on the carpet. And the ones that I usually don't have any issues with, they sit in the back. And then with their assigned seatings, I group them. There's there's no particular way. In first grade, I group them by reading level, depending on the lesson. But today we're doing a group project, so they were just in their regular assigned seatings.
Okay.
I do that because they're used to the kids that they work with. I know they work well together. If one needs help, I know I have a stronger student there that can kind of take lead in the group.
Right, excellent strategy. Now, with the kids that sit on the carpet, do you practice this every single day? Because I noticed that in the classroom, the desks were far apart from the carpet. So you had two different sections. So every time you present a lesson, do the kids come up to the front?
It depends. When I am doing a lesson that involves me using the whiteboard, and I'll be using that as a visual, then yes, I'll have all the kids go up there. It's less distractions. Like I mentioned, they're closer to me. If they have any questions, I'm right there.
Okay. And then your seating chart. I noticed that you had them in blocks of fours, four groups of four. Any particular reason for that? Is it because of space, or what's your purpose behind your seating arrangement?
my seating arrangements by their desks, like by the
Yes.
tables that they share.
Correct.
Like I said, I have a mix of students. Like I have some. I have them based on their, I guess, their level of learning. So it's two. So I have one table that's for strong learners, and I have my other two tables with it's mixed with strong and some that need a little bit more help.
Wonderful. On to my next question. So, when the kids were there, sitting in front of you, which you did an excellent job when you were presenting on the carpet, I noticed that it was a lot of open questions for the kids. You present, they ask you questions. You present, they ask you questions. Why do you allow them to ask questions in the middle of your presentation instead of holding it for the end? Is it because of their age range, or is it what's your strategy of that?
I mean, it's first grade. They're gonna have questions throughout the lesson. So anytime they have a question, like I let them ask.
For
I
engagement?
don't just for engagement purposes. For if they have any questions, if they just whatever that gets them focused on the objective, focused on the lesson, and if answering several questions throughout the lesson, that usually helps them stay on task
Great.
and grasp the understanding of the lesson.
Good. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Number 6. So, we had you. It was a group discussion, and then the kids were sent to their desk to do a group project, or I'm sorry, individual project, but at a group setting. What strategy is behind having them all do a single, or all have them do an individual project instead of a round table project?
A lot of them like working on individual projects that's new to them. So when I do have them grouped together, then they're all working individually, but they're working at the same time. So it's really like a combination of both. They're working, on their own individual project, but they're working as a group. So if you noticed when you were doing your rounds, you could I had a few, because I was going around helping some that were having trouble applying the rubber band to the cup. I had some other kiddos helping their peers out. So they're working on the task at the same time, and it just allows them to work one-on-one and individually.
Okay. And with a lot going on at the same time, how, other than walking around, how are you making sure the students are engaged and on task?
I'm just actively
Monitoring?
yeah. You can fix that?
Mhm.
Okay. No, not actively. Wait, pause it.
No, I can edit it.
Okay, ask me the question again.
So,
But you make the questions too wordy. Like, just ask the question,
okay,
and then
Olivia,
don't start adding to it.
got you. So, number 7. How do you keep the students engaged while they're doing the project? How do you make sure they stay on task?
I just make my rounds. I'm actively monitoring all the kids. Okay. Ask me again. We were on number
7. So, how do you keep the students engaged and actively participating while there's a lot of distractions going on?
When I'm making my rounds and I'm monitoring all the kids, I make sure that they all have the proper materials. I make sure that they're all, none of them are off task. They're just.
No, I'm listening. Go
You're
ahead.
laughing,
I'm
sorry.
Go ahead.
No.
No. Go
You're
ahead.
making this hard.
No, you're doing an excellent
No,
job.
I'm not.
Yes, you are. Okay, number 8. Let's skip this.
That's a
Number 8.
stupid question.
Okay.
So was number 7.
Olivia, I can't edit that out. So, what are some of the obstacles you're having in class right now with first graders?
With first graders, it's a lot of first for them. A lot of them have never participated in science projects. A lot of them have never participated in just that level of learning where it involves like projects, hands-on. A lot of them just started to learn how to read. So throughout the lesson, I kind of made them accountable for the experiment. If you noticed, when I was asking them questions, I wanted the questions that pertain to the experiment to come from them. I wanted to get them thinking, independently on the actual like anatomy and physiology of the eardrum, how it works, how sound waves work. I wanted them to get thinking. So I had them really be pretty like hands-on when it came to the experiment and the thinking and the project.
Excellent. So with first graders, I know, like you mentioned, a lot's their first time. What about behavior-wise? I mean, we spoke about, their academic-wise, but what about behavior? What are some of the issues that we're having right now that you see not only, with certain students, but as a whole?
As a whole, with first graders, we do have a lot of behavior issues, but it's more like outburst, managing emotions, managing and containing those behaviors. First graders are still very, very young, and a lot of the behaviors we see, they range from outbursts to episodes to a lot of emotional disturbances here and there. But for the most part, it's not so many of them. It's just a few kids here and there.
Okay, great. And how are you showing the emotional support, or if an outburst does happen in class, what do you do on your end to comfort the student?
It just depends on the student. If I have my students that I know need that emotional support, I do call in for support, especially if I know that it's needed. If they do have a 504 in place, I follow the 504 plan that we have. If I know that the student is in the process of getting tested, then I call in for support from my administrator. So it just depends. Every student's different. And then other students that I have really good rapport with their family, they keep me in the loop when it comes to what to expect when it comes to their behavior. It's just always keeping the parents notified. That's really number one, keeping the parents notified at all times. They want to know how their child's doing in class, not just academically, but behavior-wise as well. And it kind of helps, keep everybody in the loop, everybody on the same page when it comes to administrators, parents, students, and teachers.
Great. And do you call them right then and there when the issue happens, or do you wait after school, or what are your steps to an episode happening in real time?
In real time, if it's severe, I go ahead and let the administrators handle it, since they aren't in the classroom, and I have to give my attention to the rest of the kids in class. But usually, like, my conference time and after school is used to call parents and notify them of anything that they need to know that pertains to behavior or just anything that happened in class.
Okay. Keeping on the same subject, when outbursts do happen, how can administrators better support you to ensure that, one, we are making sure that we're still providing a safe environment for the student, and number two, so that the classroom isn't too distracted for the rest of the day and then we lose a day of instruction?
Just the way that they can better support me and the rest of the teachers, I guess, just by continuing to be visible. If I do make any calls, when I do make calls for administrators, it's something severe. It's something that is already beyond my control, like in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And to avoid like having the class being completely disrupted, it's just continued support. When I call them, replying in a timely manner, support with parents if I need that, and then just I guess keeping communication. If there's anything that I need to know that parents reported or anything else that came about from the students, just that continued support.
Okay. And then last question, before I get into my part of the observation, how can I better support you as an administrator on not only a daily basis but on a weekly basis, so that way to make sure that you are that you feel supported.
I do really appreciate the classroom observations. I do appreciate the feedback that I receive from you and the rest of the administrators. It's just that constant feedback and communication, just to ensure that I know if there's any changes that I need to do regarding my lesson, classroom management. I really do appreciate that feedback.
Excellent. So now my turn. So your lesson of the day, it was on the board. Excellent. The kids were aware. They knew what to do. The procedure was excellent. The students went, sat down. A couple of them raising their hand or getting excited. They shouted out answers or whatnot. I do like how you redirected the student and made sure that you asked them to raise their hand if they had a question. I get it. They're first graders. They're excited. This is the first time they're doing any type of lessons. It's the first time they're talking about sound waves and whatnot. So they're just pumped up. Number two. Let me see. Number two. What did they learn? How did they learn? Well, number one, they learned about the sound waves and the anatomy of ear. Great. You mentioned that it was part of science. It is one of the TEK's objectives that we do need to discuss, and you hit all the points. Number two is how did they learn about it? Well, doing the project. I think that project is excellent. I think it's a wonderful idea. Get some thinking outside the box. Now, if I may add some cons to this lesson, I did notice that a lot of the kids were at different paces while they were doing this project. You had some already, testing the sound waves, while some of them were just trying to get their, the rubber band around the cup. So all the kids were at different levels. My advice to you would be, walk them through it. Take a little bit of time. So after you send them back to their desk after the carpet, everybody has their material. Make sure it's all laid out. You have your cups, your rubber bands, and then whatever material you need. And then from there, walk them through it. Have them, get your cup. Next, you're going to do this. Once everybody has done the second part, and then you can move on, so on and so forth. So that way, when it's time to begin the actual testing of the project, all the kids are on the same page, and that'll cause a lot less distraction, in my opinion. So I would like to see that change from your end next time I observe.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that make sense?
It's a very good point.
Excellent. Teacher grows and glows. So the grows. The way that you were talking to the kids' language was excellent for them. You broke it down. They're first graders. Simplicity. Keep it simple. The kids were definitely, aware of every single word that you were using, and you also taught some phrases such as sound waves. Kids might not have known, but the way that you, move your hand and the way that you showed the kids of what it means is excellent. Excellent demonstration. Great teacher voice. You were loud. Everybody could hear you at all points. Some glows. So with the students, again, some of them, I get it, they're first grade. They're going to be blurting out answers. Let's try to keep that to a minimum. I know that there was a couple, again, excited, but let's try to keep that a minimum to stop the distractions. Also, I noticed that at the desk while some of the kids were doing their projects, some of them were standing, some of them were sitting, some of them were on their knees. I'm not sure if these kids have, privileges because of the, if they're a 504 plan or what it may be. But let's try to have everybody, doing the same thing. So if they're all going to sit, they're all going to sit. You know, if they're all going to kneel, they're all going to kneel, so on and so forth. So let's keep it even all the way around. Now, with my teacher rating scale, this is how I rated you. So, teacher discussion, the communication back and forth between students, excellent. It's a 5. So, I'll backtrack. The rating is from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest possible, 5 being highest possible. So again, teacher discussion, great communication with the kids, 5. Student engagement. Students were engaged. You know, they were excited. All of them were working on the project, even though they were working at different levels. They were still all working on it. That's what we want to see. Student behavior. All of them were on task. Nothing out of the ordinary. You know, for first graders, nobody was running around. Nobody was crying. You know, everybody was safe. So excellent. Teacher visibility. You did an excellent job walking around, making your presence known. Talking to students, talking to them individually, talking to them as a group while they're sitting. Another excellent job. Your teacher voice, excellent. I can't stress how important that is to make sure that, you know, everybody can hear you. That the communication level is great. So good job. And then the cleanliness of the classroom. Everything was in order. Books where they were supposed to be. Backpacks were on the chairs. In case of an emergency, you know, everybody can get it. All the kids can get out of the room without tripping and falling and then causing more problems. Yeah, and then the safety checklist. Was there a fire extinguisher? Couldn't see. Fire escape route. I'm sure you have one on the door. I just couldn't see it. And then clear pass again in case anything happens where, you know, a fire alarm triggers or we have to get out of the building quickly. Kids aren't, you know, stumbling, fumbling all over the desk. So great job all the way around. Other than that, thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Of course, thank you.